Hey YouTube, Brian here. I just wanted to show you quickly a little bit about making potting media for Masdevallias and other Pleurothallids. So a few years back, before my friend Mario passed away, I luckily had the chance to go visit his greenhouse, which was amazing. But even more helpful for me was he had a chance to visit my greenhouse and tell me what I was doing wrong. So when you're buying sphagnum moss to make some of your potting mix-up, and I know a lot of people don't love moss, but it is wonderful for the Pleurothallids. They really do well in it. They get a lot of nice moisture from it. It holds the nutrients for them, lets the roots uptake them as they can. But we're always told that we want to buy really good quality, long fiber sphagnum. And when you suddenly have something like this big long piece here that you're trying to fit into a 2-inch pot, it gets really difficult. And that's when Mario looked at me and went, well, you know you're supposed to cut it up, right? And I thought, oh, well, you're supposed to buy this really long fibered stuff. Why would you cut it up? And he says, well, because it'll mix better with all your other components and you can fit it into the pot. So now what I do is just take a pair of kitchen shears and just take little clumps and you can cut it up. If you've got a hard brick, like a compressed brick of the moss, you can also just chop that up before you rehydrate it. That's an option too. So we'll go through, give this a good little trim to get the pieces a little smaller. There are always going to be a few longer ones left behind, but that's not really a problem. So I've got a nice bed of moss here. What I like to do is about 2 parts moss, roughly, and it's all sort of by feel, unfortunately, which I know is difficult. I like to add a little bit of lime because that helps to buffer the pH in the final mix. So give that a little dusting here at the beginning to get it all mixed in. So that's going to help keep the potting mix from going sour, the pH dropping too low, and causing all the roots to die. Now, I don't tend to use a lot of bark. Sometimes I use no bark. In this instance, I'm not planning on using any. If you're going to for your Pleurothallids, I would generally use a fairly fine bark. Make sure you soak it well. I like to soak it ideally for a day or so, and anything that sinks during that time gets discarded. You only want the nice clean stuff that's floating because it's a little fresher and less likely to decompose. I also don't tend to use a huge amount of charcoal, but I do have some nice fine charcoal here, and what this will do is help absorb excess salts for about the first 2 months after the plant has been potted. It'll just help keep the root tips more active and less likely to be burned by any salts in your fertilizers. So we'll get that mixing in. Definitely like some nice good coarse sponge rock, perlite, nice big stuff here. This has been rinsed really well just to help get rid of any dust. Do remember when you're working with it that that dust you don't want to be getting in your lungs, so definitely be wearing a mask if it's dry, stored in the bag. Another thing that I really like to put into my mix is going to be volcanic pumice. What I like is the bags that are available to me come in these mixed sizes. This, I believe, is what they call their medium or large. And it has some fairly fine things in it, all the way up to some nice bigger chunks. It seems to have a bit of a fertilizing quality to it. It seems to pass some nutrients onto the plant. All right. Another thing that I'll often add in is tree fern. The pumice, of course, was washed really well to get rid of any dust and fines. I'm out of the tree fern in its sort of loose form, but I do have some of the little cubes that break apart fairly easily. We can add those into our mix. I'm not going to worry too much about it for this one. So then you just get started on the table here, mixing this all together. And you can see, because I've got the moss chopped up, it mixes really nicely with the rest of the ingredients. You don't have big strings of moss that are tucked off to the side while all the more gritty components mix together. And so what I'm looking for to know that I'm done is a nice mix with a reasonable amount of moss to it still, that looks like it's going to be nice and moisture retentive, but nice and open. You know, it's not something that you can squeeze together in a ball and will hold its shape like it would be if it was just long fibered moss. Nice, loose, open mix. If you got any little sticks or bits that come in the moss, you can pick them out as you're going as well. So that's roughly what I'm looking for in a nice mix for Masdevallias and other Pleurothallids. All right, hope that was helpful. Thanks.